The Viltrum Empire, one of the strongest fictional armies in media, known for conquering planets and expanding their territory for centuries through their monstrous strength. When even one Viltrumite soldier is capable of leveling an entire city, it's no wonder the Viltrumites have gained such a notorious reputation in the Invincible universe. But let's say they had their eyes set on another planet, an Earth different from the one from Invincibles, where the Viltrumites tried to take over a small town called Danville, where two genius young boys were residing. Would Phineas and Ferb be able to defend the planet from a Viltrumite invasion? Or will summer be over for the tri-state area? I figured this would be a fun matchup, and I always like doing these sort of meme videos, especially since this is not the first time the boys had to defend their home from a planet of alien invaders. When discussing the power of the Viltrumite Empire, I'm going to do my best to not spoil the comics. This is important as I'm going to be talking about their leader Thrag, who hasn't been introduced in the show yet as of the recording of this video. This naturally means I'm only going to be counting pure-blooded Viltrumites. And because Phineas and Ferb are normal children and are pretty much useless without their inventions, I will allow them some prep time. So with all this out of the way, it's time to answer the question if Phineas and Ferb can stop the Viltrumite Empire. When it comes to talking about each individual Viltrumite's power within the Empire, we first have to talk about, since he's basically the only Viltrumite that has feats that give us an indication of how strong an average Viltrumite soldier actually is, as he is shown to be consistently relative to an average Viltrumite soldier with his fight with Thula in Season 2. So just how strong is Mark exactly? We see him stopping an asteroid from hitting the Earth. The size of this asteroid would be putting Mark somewhere in the mountain to small island level tiers of attack potency, in terms of lifting strength. In addition, Mark was also able to bench the weight of the moon as stated by Rex in Season 3. When the Maulers were stealing nuclear weapons, Mark flew and collided into a missile that caused a massive explosion. This blast would fall into the continental to multi-continental ranges of power, meaning most average Viltrumite soldiers would fall into these tiers of power as well. Now that's just an average Viltrumite. Obviously the top tier officers of the army would be much stronger than this. Just off the top of my head, Omni-Man, Conquest, Anissa, Thrag would probably be in this tier of power. Thrag in particular is in a different league of his own, being able to 1v1 Battle Beast, a character that was casually bullying Mark at the beginning of Season 1, to the point where Omni-Man didn't even want to fight him. And Thrag is superior to a version of Omni-Man and Mark, where they destroyed the planet Viltrum, albeit with a little bit of prep time. Which, although I personally have a problem with this would put the higher tier officers of the Viltrumite Empire into the planetary ranges of power and durability, with common soldiers ranging from country to continental. Speed is another insane trait that Viltrumites possess, even with the slowest Viltrumites being able to move at relativistic speeds, with Mark being able to fly from the moon to the Earth with a couple of seconds, making it around 30% of the speed of light. We can scale stronger Viltrumites in the Empire higher than this. At the end of Season 1, Omni-Man flew from Earth to Thraxa in about a week. This is important as Omni-Man would have had to travel galactic distances in order to reach there, which no matter which way you put it, would make Omni-Man at least 1 million times faster than the speed of light, as well as anyone above Nolan. And there's further evidence to back this up, that guidebooks basically confirm that Viltrumites are capable of moving faster than light, Alan reacting and dodging the Viltrumite spaceship which can travel intergalactic distances. So with the Viltrumites covered, do the boys from Danville have what it takes to defend themselves to stop the Empire from taking over the planet? When it comes to scaling the boys, I'm only going to be discussing canon material within the show. So basically what this means is that we won't be covering stuff like the Star Wars episodes, or where the boys were caveman or Doof Dynasty, since episodes like these are clearly written to be parodies or spoofs, and obviously they don't take place within the canon timeline of the show, meaning things like Second Dimension and Summer Belongs to You are still canon. To gauge how strong Phineas and Ferb's creations are, we will first have to talk about everyone's favorite supervillain, evil Dr. Scientist, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and his innators. Every time the boys interact with Dr. D, they're always shown to be comparable in intelligence to him, so anything Dr. D creates, the boys should reasonably be able to replicate as well. And some of you might be wondering why I'm putting Doof in this video, when the title clearly implies that Phineas and Ferb are the only ones in the video. And I would say that whenever there's a massive event that threatens the world or anyone in Danville, Doofenshmirtz is always there intentionally or not to help the boys, and he always plays a huge part in the boys' victory. So I basically consider him a part of the team, and part of Danville's defense forces. So just how strong are the inventions in the show? Well, as young as 10 years old, Doofenshmirtz invented his very first Anator. Pretty basic, it just shoots a giant green beam into space. However, this laser travels from Earth to Mars in roughly 20 to 30 seconds, where it makes contact with Mars' surface and disfigures the space monument of Candace's face. This roughly makes Doof's Anator 30 to 40 times faster than the speed of light. So we can reasonably assume that all lasers and gadgets in this show can travel at this speed. I feel like it's also worth mentioning that Phineas and Ferb are capable of moving faster than sound by themselves, and were briefly able to outrun the speed of light with their running shoes. However, this is not the fastest speed feat we see him perform in the series. In the episode Escape from Phineas Tower, the boys build an AI escape room X tower. The boys escape, the tower traps them in a giant dome, which then expands to the size of an entire galaxy in less than 5 seconds. This easily makes it massively faster than the speed of light. And they're not lacking in destructive power as well, since Norm himself has been shown to generate explosions that would be in the continental tiers of destruction. And on top of that, Phineas and Ferb's nanobots that Perry uses to fight Norm were able to deflect all of Norm's weaponry, which further supports the idea that Phineas and Ferb's inventions are relative to Dr. D's Nators, or just robot in this case. But what if I told you that Norm is not the strongest weapon that the show has to offer? In the episode Last Day of Summer, Dr. Doofenshmirtz creates a device capable of rewinding time. The device gets used so much that it distorts the space-time continuum, which is stated multiple times in the episode that it was going to destroy the entire universe. Rather impressive firepower from Danville. Despite all the crazy destruction and speed feats, they also have a wide range of abilities and powers displayed throughout the show. Phineas and Ferb's creations include teleportation, traveling through time, being able to phase through objects, manipulating gravity, X-ray vision, size manipulation, crossing alternate dimensions before it was mainstream, going subatomic, and so on and so on. If we were to include all of Dr. D's Nators, the list would extend to things like disintegration, invisibility, mind control, accelerated aging, and cloning. With the Viltrumites and Phineas and Ferb covered, who would actually triumph? And guys, I don't even think it's close. Phineas and Ferb would easily be able to put a stop to the Viltrumites' plans to take over the planet. Now, if the Viltrumites pulled up to the planet and the boys had no prep time, Danville is getting smacked. In terms of raw power, a giant robot dog or a spaceship is not gonna do anything to an average Viltrumite. Even Norm, who is strong in his own right, has no shot of taking out stronger soldiers like Omni-Man or Conquest. However, if the boys had like 2 hours of prep time, which is being very generous considering what they can make in a day, and were aware of the Viltrumites' invasions, they can easily cook up some sort of deterrent to back the Viltrumites off. The boys have demonstrated that they can produce machines that can travel millions and millions of times faster than any character in Invincible, as well as possessing weapons that surpass any destruction feat we see in the show or comic in Invincible. Even if that wasn't enough, they also have numerous options to cripple and nerf an average Viltrumite soldier, possibly even the high tiers, which is something that actually happens in the Phineas and Ferb franchise, and time travel was used in Milo Murphy's Law, where the Pistachion monsters were taking over the planet. Going back in time and stopping it from ever happening is not off the table. I just don't see a way Phineas and Ferb or Dr. Doofenshmirtz would have any problem dealing with a Viltrumite invasion. So if the Viltrumites did try to pull up to Danville and take over the planet, I have no doubt Phineas, Ferb, or Dr. Doofenshmirtz would have any problems dealing with them, just like the conquerors that came before them. Thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. I can't lie to you guys, I was procrastinating a little bit, with this one just supposed to come out in September, but obviously we're now in Halloween month. Hopefully I can make some new stuff soon. So with that, I wish you all a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.